Now we get going in the first of 6 senior Rotax heats. It's Heat 1, Groups A and B. Let's have a look at the starting grid. On the front row, it's the fastest drivers in the respective groups yesterday. Kai Hunter, who took overall pole position yesterday, and Matthew Higgins alongside him on the front row. Tommy van der Stroys and Jaden Thiem make it an all-Dutch row 2, with Archie Walker from the UK and Francis Paul Voorkwemmen completing the top 3 rows. Sverre Ubben from Belgium will then be lining up alongside the outgoing junior Rotax European champion, Ethan Jeff Hall from the UK. Lewis Gilbert, the pride of Scotland, will be joined by Jack Stedman on row number 5. Just behind them is the man that's made a bit of a history last year in Portimao, the only person to win 3 grand finals in 3 different classes, and is gunning for the senior Rotax title this year, Mark Kimber. He's joined by Switzerland's Mario Sidler. And I have to say, get well soon to Tino, who was due to compete this weekend. Frederik Zebis, Christensen, Jane Lawrence, Montego Masson, Alexander Adams, Acton, William Antrobus, Paul Hamburg, Brandon Klein-Nagelvort, Christoph Sala, James Lingard, George Holbrook, and the man who's had more comebacks than I've had hot Sunday roast dinners over the last 6 years, it's James Johnson, bringing up the rear of the field. Also have to give a mention to one of our drivers who was with us up until Marienburg this year, who this weekend is making his ADAC GT4 Germany debut at the Sachsenring. Good luck to a new driver at BWT, Mucko Motorsport. Lachlan Robertson now moves up into sports cars at the tail end of this season. So Lockie, from all of us here at the Euro Trophy, the very best of luck in Germany this weekend. We'll be cheering for you, my friend. So 10 minutes on the timer, plus an additional lap here at Paul Fletcher International. The title comes down to the wire. Sean Butcher looking to make it a successful title defence. But at the moment, based on the current scores, it is Mark Kimber that leads the way on 467 points, 4 ahead of Butcher. Kai Rilletz, who was so close to taking the title last year, is 3rd. Austin Lee rounds out the top 4 in the championship standings on 382 points. Lights are out. We are underway for this first heat, as it was nearly 3 wide between 3 Dan Holland racing carts going into the Bruno Ferrari S's. But Hunter has the lead. Van der Stroys looks to be in 2nd as they go towards the Litchfield Bridge for the first time. Now down the right-hander through in towards the first of the 2 hairpins. Hunter leads the way. Van der Stroys in 2nd. They're fanning out at the back end of the field. So Archie Walker just behind the 380 of the Netherlands. Jaden Thiem, who first qualified for the Grand Finals in 2019 as a Minimax driver and nearly went on to win the whole thing in Sarno. Was 3rd at Bahrain in 2021. Coming towards the conclusion of the opening lap as they make their way through the exit of the Mike Wilson complex. It's going to be the 395 of Kai Hunter that leads the way. Up the hill they go once again, over the bridge. Through into the Litchfield Bridge itself again before the right-hander. So into the opening hairpin once again they go. Skirmish for 3rd position, led by one of the KR Sport drivers. And that is going to be more than likely Archie Walker. Lewis Gilbert has sprung up the order like a scalded cat on a hot tin roof. And he's chasing. This expense driver down. It's for P3 at the moment. So Hunter leads the way. It was 0.361 after the opening lap. Across the line they go once again. Hunter still leads. It's Higgins in 2nd now. Van der Stroys drops all the way to 5th. Walker in 3rd. Gilbert 4th. From 9th on the grid. Van der Stroys. Thiem. Ethan Jeff Hall now 7th. Paul Voorkwemmen drops down into 8th place. Mark Kimber and Sverre Ubben round out the top 10. As they are fanning out again. Some drivers looking towards the inside of the rundown, in towards the opening hairpin. Big thank you to David Robinson for just messaging me on WhatsApp. Appreciate the sentiments, my friend, and hopefully we'll catch up with some with each other at one point in the not too distant future. But the racing goes on unabated here at Paul Fletcher International in the opening senior Rotax heat. And then we are currently in the United Kingdom at Paul Fletcher International in Grantham in Lincolnshire, about a 3-hour drive north of London. So 3 minutes down, 7 to go. Hunter extending his lead now to about 0.5 of a second. Archie Walker has now dropped down to 7th, which means that Lewis Gilbert now running P3 ahead of Van der Stoys, who started to make a bit of a recovery. And is closing in on the 3:29 from Kraft Motorsport. Gilbert holding on to that third position as things stand right now. Through the Fullerton S's, Lewis Gilbert was hanging on for dear life. I think I saw the car twitching at the back end. Over 40% of the way through the race. Tommy Van der Stoys has got through on Lewis Gilbert for third place on the run-up Uncle Tyrone's banking. So the Scotsman drops down to P4. Sven Urban continues to round out the top 10. He has got one driver very much closing in on him. Skirmish still happening as Gilbert gets back through on Van der Stoys. Jaden Teen has now moved to Dan Holland Racing a little bit earlier on this year. Raymond Rietveld still these days keeping the spanners on standby for the 380 from the Netherlands. And Hunter and Higgins still leading the way. They are now making their way up to the top part of the hill over the Litchfield Bridge. It is line astern between the two. Jaden Teen has got through on Tommy Van der Stoys in the meantime, and now is up to 4th place. Ethan Jeff Hall right on the back bumper of Van der Stoys, and looks to the inside, makes the lunge and gets through. Mark Kimber is not too far behind in the 3:02. As they make their way through into the Fullerton S's once again. Still an opportunity for things to change, not just at the front end of the field, maybe a little bit further down the order. Across the line they go. 0.4 is now the advantage between first and second position. Back up the hill they go once again. These laps go away very, very quickly indeed here at Paul Fletcher International. So coming up to just under 4 minutes to go. First and second, line astern. Hunter and Higgins. Higgins at the moment 8th in the standings. Hunter currently at this moment in time has been really showcasing his skills up and down the order in respective championships. Hasn't had the best run of luck here in the Euro Trophy this season. Could this be a weekend that might help? But with 3 minutes still on the timer remaining, it has been less than half a second all the way through the lap so far between our top two. They make their way through into the Mike Wilson complex as the timer continues to count down. 2.5 minutes remain. Hunter still leading the way. 4/10 is the gap. So the 3:97 of Ethan Jeff Hall is really coming under the kibosh. Tommy van der Stoys and Mark Kimber are right with him going through onto the Litchfield Bridge. Now heading through into turn number 4. Down the dip they go. In towards the first of the 2 hairpins. Paul Forquemin is there in the mix. And also Jack Steadman looks to be there as well in the 9:34 entry. They are 4-5 in a gaggle into the infield hairpin. Steadman makes the move on Forquemin, who gets the switch back on the run down to the Fullerton S's. The Frenchman will make it stick and threads the eye of the needle. Gets through. Ethan Jeff Hall is hanging on for dear life ahead of Tommy van der Stoys. Mark Kimber's got the ringside seat. He has got bags filled of experience. Has Mark Kimber, currently with a slender lead in the championship standings, coming into this final round. Less than a minute and a half to go. Leaders up the hill through Uncle Tyrone's banking. And Lewis Gilbert and Jaden Teen seems to be running on their own. But look at the freight train. It's not the Arno Trulli train, it's the Ethan Jeff Hall train. From 5th backwards, and there are multiple carts. I count at least 6 or maybe 8 of them. And now they're starting to fan out. Steadman's looking for a lunge up the inside. He's now behind Mark Kimber. The 902 of Frederick Zebis Christensen coming under the kibosh. And now Steadman thinks, well, let's see if I can have a crack at Mark Kimber. That's easier said than done. And now whilst they were squabbling through the 2 hairpins, Ethan Jeff Hall has now got a 2 to 3 length cart lead over Tommy van der Stoys. Jay and Lawrence now rounds out the top 10. 30 seconds to go. We're on to our penultimate lap of racing. And still the gap has been, for the last couple of laps, less than 4/10 between Kai Hunter and Matty Higgins for the race lead. As the train makes it, there's several trains making their way through the Bruno Ferrari S's. As the timer counts down. And look, they're 3-4 abreast. There's so much slipstreaming going on, it's ridiculous. But that's the nature of Paul Fletcher International. It is a difficult circuit to lead at. It's a difficult circuit to keep a hold of your position because there's 3, maybe 4 carts behind you. Timer has expired. This time the last lap board will be showcased to the drivers. So final lap underway. Kai Hunter has a 4.5 of a second advantage over Matty Higgins, but that is getting closed down by the young man from Trafalgar in Wales, who also has had a recent test in a McLaren Artura GT4 and showed very, very good promise. Son of multi-time American rally champion and multi-time karting champion in his own right, David, who's always behind the spanners when him and Matty are at karting events. But it has been a dominant display. Little bit of a flourish towards the end of it. Mark Kimber trying to get one up on Tommy van der Stoys as we head towards the checkered flag for Heat 1 of Senior Rotax Groups A and B. And what a job it's been from Kai Hunter. Right the way from lights out to checkered flag. Sunderland's finest takes the opening heat of the weekend ahead of teammate at Dan Holland Racing. The pride of Trafalgar in Wales, Matty Higgins takes second. The pride of Scotland, Lewis Gilbert takes third ahead of Jaden Teen. Ethan Jeff Hall takes fifth ahead of Tommy van der Stoys. Mark Kimber, Jack Steadman in the 9-3-4, rounding out those particular positions. But Kai Hunter, absolutely dominant, very reminiscent of his form at the penultimate round of the B&L karting series at Ostricourt. Just in the about 4 weeks ago. So Hunter has done a fine, fine job. Steadman takes 8th ahead of Forquemin, Zebis Christensen, Archie Walker, Jane Lawrence, Montego Masson, William Antrobus, Brandon Klein-Nuggervoort, Mario Sidler, Alexander Adams-Acton, Paul Hamburg rounding out the top 18 out of 23 competitors that started the race. And then Christoph Saller, George Holbrook, James Johnson, James Lingard, and unfortunately, with 8 laps remaining, Sverre Ubben retired from the race.